I just met with a teacher who's worried that she doesn't have enough saved for retirement yet. So we talked through her situation, built a plan that works for her. But instead of focusing on the plan, I actually want to focus on her pension. See, we decided to view it a little bit differently to help her realize that she's actually in a much better position than she thinks she is. So that's what we're going to focus on in this video. I'm Jack. I'm the owner of JRO Wealth Management. I'm a financial planner. I help retirees with their income, taxes, and investments. Here's the background. Let's introduce our teacher, Katie. She's 64 years old, single, and school teacher here in California, and she wants about $8,000 per month to be comfortable in retirement. Now that's what she wants. What does she have supported? Well, I mentioned earlier she has that pension. That's about $7,500 per month or $90,000 per year. And the nice thing about it, there's an inflation benefit associated with it. So when things just naturally get more expensive over time, that will increase to help offset some of those costs. That's a great benefit to have with it. Now, of course, she has to pay taxes on that, right? So even though it does a really good job of meeting her spending need, there's already a shortfall there. She needs to have something else there to meet that gap and also just help cover emergencies or big one-time expense. So what does she have? Well, she has about $850,000 spread across a few retirement accounts, and she'll receive a small Social Security benefit based on her ex-spouse's record. Now, the reason she was feeling a little bit behind or not as comfortable to retire is because she hasn't crossed that $1 million threshold mark. And I see that a lot. A lot of people, there's just something about crossing that $1 million of savings that makes you feel a lot more comfortable heading into retirement, and that makes sense. Let's focus in on that pension, though. Having a pension is one of the greatest things you can have as you enter retirement. But what if we didn't think about it as an income stream, though? What if we thought about it as an asset? Let's flip it. So in other words, what if she didn't have that pension? How much would she need to have saved in order to duplicate that $90,000? There's a couple ways we can go with this. Now, typically you do a more rigorous pension analysis, and there are a lot of situations where that is more appropriate. I'll touch on it in a moment, but for this, let's just keep it simple, do some back of the napkin math. Now, retirement distribution strategies, or how much can I safely spend for my retirement portfolio? Bunch of different strategies out there. It depends on your situation. Most people are familiar with the 4% rule, so I'm just going to use that as an example. So in other words, in order to get that $90,000 of income, we would need to have a $2,250,000 portfolio. 2.25 million times 4%, $90,000. Similar to the pension, you would need to pay taxes on that, but that's just what you need in order to duplicate that pension. Now, this isn't apples to apples. There's the inflation component. The market, or excuse me, the portfolio, it will move up and down as the market moves. But the pension, you also can't liquidate it like you could with your portfolio. Again, it's not an apples to apples comparison. It's just a helpful way to look at your pension a little bit differently to help you realize, hey, maybe you're in a better position than you thought you were, even though you feel like you should have more saved. So it's just a perspective shift. If you want to be more precise, the analysis is a better way to go. But then you got to figure out, okay, well, how long are we actually going to plan for all the payments to last? And how much is it growing each year? And what's a comparable discount rate so we can value all the cash flow today? And if you're comparing different options, this is a better route to go. That makes it as apples to apples as you can possibly have. But if you're just trying to think, okay, well, what is this worth to me? Because I'm feeling like I don't have that much, just focusing purely on my account balances. The back of the napkin math does a pretty good job at it. So is it as precise as the analysis? No. But for just giving you a little bit more perspective, it does a pretty good job. It's easy to have an arbitrary goal or a number in your head, not just in finance, but in life, right? You're telling yourself, hey, I should be here based on whatever reasons you come up with. But if you just look at your situation, zero in on it, and shift your perspective, you might realize that you have more going on for you than you initially thought. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future, go ahead and subscribe. Take it easy.